Whispers of steel. The city of Kael'tor never slept. It was the Empire's jewel, a spire of black crystal towers rising from a desert world of red dust. Bridges of light stretched between skyscrapers, carrying thousands of citizens, soldiers, and workers. Above, warships drifted in the sky like steel sharks, silent reminders of the Empire's power. Yet in the crowded lower levels, under the neon glow and choking smoke, whispers spread. Rumors, terrible ones. An unidentified ship has entered Imperial space. Not a ship, a monster, a dreadnought. Not from the Empire, not from any world we know. Yalan Kor, once a soldier, now a half-broken mechanic, sat in his workshop and listened. The workshop was small, filled with scrap engines and tools older than the Empire's conquest of Earth. The walls hummed with the noise of air filters, struggling against desert dust. Jalen's hands were scarred, black with oil, but steady. He had been steady once, too, back in the war. Back before he saw his unit burned alive by plasma fire while he crawled out of the wreckage. Now, he repaired broken machines for aliens who barely looked him in the eye. To them, he was Terran, human, expendable. Only one customer treated him differently. That customer was Siravel Wren, a tall alien with shimmering scales and bright golden eyes. She belonged to the Velari, one of the Empire's conquered species. Her people were scientists and singers before the Empire broke there. Fleets, now they were bureaucrats, servants, and record-keepers. Sira leaned against the doorway, her voice low. Yalan, the rumors are spreading faster. The High Council is afraid. He didn't look up from the engine he was fixing. The Empire's always afraid. That's why they crush everyone who speaks too loud. No, she said. Her voice trembled. This is different. They say it's a human ship. Yalan froze. His wrench slipped from his hand. What? A dreadnought. Massive. Black as night. It entered through the outer sectors 3 days ago. No transponder. No imperial design. The reports say it carries Earth markings. His heart thudded in his chest. Impossible. Earth had been under chains for 200 years. No human fleet survived. No dreadnought could have been built without the Empire noticing. And yet the ground trembled. Lights flickered. People outside screamed Dache Alen, and Sira rushed out into the street. Above the towers, the sky split open. A warship descended through the clouds. It was enormous. Larger than any Imperial destroyer. Larger than even their command. Carriers. Its hull was jagged, armored with black plates that seemed to drink the starlight. Faint blue light pulsed between the seams, like the breath of a slumbering beast. On its side, scorched but unmistakable, was painted a flag. The Earth flag, red, white, blue. Ira gasped. By the stars, the crowd fell silent. Soldiers raised their rifles but did not fire. Even the Empire's warships circling above hesitated. The Empire's worst nightmare had come. True, a human dreadnought had arrived, and no one knew if it came as friend or executioner. The forgotten ship, the dreadnought, hung in the sky for hours, unmoving, watching. The Empire scrambled ships, but none approached. The Council argued in their towers, but their voices were drowned by fear. Yalan could not look away. His hands shook as memories surged back. The stories of Earth's fall, the lost fleets, the crushed resistance. He had grown up hearing the old veterans whisper about ships that could level continents. But those were myths. Ghost stories. Now, when floated above Kael'tor, Sira clutched his arm. They'll destroy us all if that ship attacks. The Empire will burn this city to the ground before letting it fall. He knew she was right, but something gnawed at him. Why hadn't it attacked? Why hadn't it moved? Then came the voice, a deep, Broken transmission boomed across the city, not in alien tongue, but in English. This is the Un's retribution. We seek survivors of Earth. Do not fear. We are not your enemy. Jalen's knees went weak. He had not heard English spoken by strangers in years. The accent was military, clipped and cold. The crowd stared in confusion. Only the humans among them understood. Only the broken, scattered Terrans, who lived as slaves and outcasts, dropped to their knees. Sobbing. JLL, Ian whispered, UNS, United Nations ship. That's impossible. But the Empire moved swiftly. Fighters screamed through the air, circling the dreadnought like angry hornets. The voice came again, sharper this time. Empire ships, stand down. Any hostile action will be met with force. The Council panicked. Orders screamed through cones. A first missile was fired, and the dreadnought moved. Its cannons roared like thunder. A single blue lance of energy ripped through the missile and the ship that fired it, vaporizing both in a burst of white fire. The crowd shrieked. Jalen's chest tightened. He had never seen such power. Not even the Empire's mighty fleet could burn a cruiser so fast that the Retribution spoke again. We come for the children of Earth. We come for our own. Any who wish to rise, come forth. Sira turned to him, eyes wide. Yalen, you have to go. That ship, it's calling to you. But Yalen hesitated. The Empire was already mobilizing. Columns of armored soldiers poured into the streets. Gunships descended, their cannons glowing. Loudspeakers blared. All Terrans remain where you are. Anyone who approaches the alien ship will be executed. The people froze between terror and hope. Humans who had never dreamed of freedom now saw salvation hanging in the sky. And Yalen, broken ex-soldier, stood at the center of it. For the first time in years, he had a choice. Asterisk chains and fire. The streets became a battlefield. Humans surged forward, desperate to reach the docks. The Empire's soldiers fired stun rounds into the crowd, dropping men and women screaming. Families were torn apart. Yalen grabbed Sira's hand and pulled her through the chaos. Stay close. Yalen, wait. He didn't wait. His instincts from the war years kicked in. He ducked between alleys, dodged patrols, dragged Sira with him. He knew the soldiers wouldn't hesitate to kill her too, for helping a Terran dot above. The Retribution launched drones, black-winged machines that swept low, scanning the streets, projecting blue shields to protect civilians from stray fire. The crowd roared in hope that the Empire's commanders panicked. They unleashed war machines, towering walkers with plasma cannons. They stomped through the streets, scattering refugees like insects. One aimed its cannon at Jalen's alley. He shoved Sira against the wall. Down, the blast shook the ground. The alley collapsed. Dust choked him. His ears rang. But when the smoke cleared, he was still alive. A blue shield shimmered above them. One of the Retribution's drones hovered nearby, protecting them. Dotted spoke in a cold synthetic voice. Human identified. Priority extraction. Yalen blinked. Me? Before he could react, hooks descended from the sky. The drone fired a tether that latched onto his chest armor, lifting him off the ground. Sira screamed, grabbing his arm. Yalen, he clutched her hand. The drone didn't hesitate. It lifted both of them. Soldiers below fired wildly, but the shield held. They rose higher, past the burning rooftops, past the chaos, toward the waiting dreadnought. For the first time in his life, Yalen saw the Empire's soldiers look afraid, and for the first time, he felt free. But freedom had a cost. Dot as they neared the dreadnought. Its titanic hangar doors opened. Rows of cannons tracked the Imperial fleet gathering. In orbit, the Retribution's voice thundered once more. We are humanity's vengeance. We are the lost fleet returned. Kneel, Empire. Or burn. Asterisk the ghost fleet, a hanger, swallowed them whole. Yalin dangled from the drone's tether, heart slamming in his chest, as the giant steel doors sealed shut behind him. The sound of battle outside was muffled, replaced by the deep, humming heartbeat of the dreadnought itself. The hangar was unlike anything he had seen. Vast enough to house an entire imperial cruiser, its walls gleamed with strange alloy, black as night, veined with glowing blue conduits. Human fighters, sleek and angular, stood in perfect rows, their hulls marked with the same faded Earth flag. Dozens of figures in dark combat armor moved between them, their helmets glowing faintly, their movements disciplined. The drone lowered Yalin and Sira to the deck. The tether snapped free. Unbelievable. Sira whispered, her golden eyes darting everywhere. This is human? Your people built this? Asterisk Jalin's mouth went dry. He couldn't answer. He had spent his life fixing scraps, salvaging broken imperial tools just to survive. And here was something so far beyond him, it felt like a dream got boots pounded against the deck. Soldiers surrounded them, rifles raised. Their armor was unlike anything in the Empire. Jagged black plating, glowing with blue lines, helmets shaped like the skulls of predators. But their voices, when they barked commands, were in English. Hands on your head. Now, Yalin hesitated, only a moment before obeying. Slowly, Sira did the same. One soldier stepped forward and removed his helmet. His face was scarred, his hair streaked with gray, but his eyes burned bright. He studied Yalin with disbelief. Asterisk. You're Terran, he muttered. Then louder, Captain. We've found one. A voice answered from above, calm and commanding. Bring him to me. The soldiers shoved Yalin and Sira forward. They crossed the hangar, past rows of fighters, past crews shouting orders in crisp English. Sira kept close to him, her hand brushing his. He squeezed it once, trying to steady her. Or maybe himself, dot at the far end of the hangar, stood a raised command deck. A figure waited there, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a long black coat with the faded insignia of the United Nations on the collar. His hair was silver, his face lined, but his posture was unbroken. This was a man who had carried war on his back for decades. He looked down at Yalin with sharp eyes. You, name. Yalin Kor, he said, voice hoarse. Terran, born in the Kael'tor sectors. The man's jaw tightened. Kael'tor, conquered early, I remember. He stepped closer. I am Captain Marcus Hall, commander of the Retribution. And you? Yalin Kor are the first freeborn Terran we have found since we returned. Yalin blinked. Returned? From where? How is this even possible? Earth's been silent? Hale's eyes darkened. Not silent, hidden, waiting. We are what remains of the old fleets, buried in the outer dark, forgotten by the Empire. We survived. We rebuilt. And now? His gaze hardened. We strike. The words hit Yalin like thunder. A hidden fleet, survivors. Humanity not broken, but biding its time. Sira spoke up softly. If you've survived so long, why reveal yourselves now? Hale's gaze flicked to her, then back to Yalin. Because the galaxy has forgotten what it means to fear humanity. The Empire grows fat, soft, arrogant. It has enslaved countless species. But we will remind them. Yalin swallowed hard. Part of him trembled with awe, with hope. Another part recoiled. He remembered fire, blood, comrades screaming as they died. He remembered the price of war. And what about us? Yalin asked quietly. The ones left behind? The ones who suffered while you hid? A shadow crossed Hale's face. For a heartbeat. His eyes softened. Then they hardened again. You will rise with us, or you will be left in chains. The words hung heavy in the air. Before Yalin could answer, alarms blared. A young officer ran up the deck. Captain, Imperial reinforcements incoming. 2 carrier groups just jumped in system. The hangar shuddered as the Retribution's engines roared. Hall barked orders. Launch squadrons. Arm main batteries. Prepare for orbital engagement. Soldiers. Scattered. Fighters screamed to life. JALEN and Sira were shoved aside as the crew moved with perfect discipline. The deck became chaos. Organized chaos. The kind that meant life or death. Sira grabbed his arm. Yalin, this isn't just a ship, it's an army. He nodded numbly, watching the soldiers march with grim purpose. And then, through the hangar's shielded wall, he saw them. More ships. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Dark, jagged silhouettes emerging from the void. Each one bore the same faded markings, the same human design. Their hulls glowed with faint blue light. Fleet. A ghost fleet. The Empire's worst nightmare multiplied. A HUNDREDFOLD. The comms blared. A voice from one of the ships. This is the UN's vanguard. Standing by. This is the UN's salvation. Weapons ready. This is the UN's defiance. For Earth. For freedom. Jalen's breath caught. His knees almost buckled. Humanity hadn't just returned. Humanity had come back with vengeance. The hangar shook again. Outside, the Empires. Armada lit up the skies. Kael'Tor's towers gleamed with fire as plasma streaked through the atmosphere. Hale turned to Yalin, his voice like steel. You wanted to know where we've been. Look outside. We've been waiting for this moment. Now we need Terrans who remember the pain of the Empire's boot. We need soldiers who know their cruelty. We need you. Yalin stared at him, torn, between fear and a spark of something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Sira's hand tightened on his. Her golden eyes searched his face. Yalin, what are you going to do? He didn't know. He was no captain. He was no hero. He was just a broken mechanic with blood on his hands. But above them, the ghost fleet roared awake. The galaxy was about to change forever, and Yalin stood at the center of it. Firestorm over Kael'Tor's Retribution shook as it rose through Kael'Tor's upper atmosphere. Flames licked across its armored hull. Clouds tore apart, and the red desert world fell away beneath them. Ahead, the void burned with war. The Empire had not come lightly. 2 colossal carriers, bristling with guns and shield arrays, hung above the planet. Swarms of destroyers and frigates flanked them, their engines glowing with deadly blue. Hundreds of fighters streaked out in glittering arcs, like a cloud of steel insects. For centuries, the Empire had been unchallenged in this system. Today, they met something they had never imagined: the Ghost Fleet. Dozens of Terran dreadnoughts, cruisers, and carriers emerged from the dark, their hulls jagged and scarred, their engines glowing like caged suns. They moved as one, silent and terrifying. They did not form imperial-style parade lines. They advanced like predators. In the command deck, alarms screamed. Officers shouted bearings, shield strengths, weapon charges. The crew of the Retribution moved like they had drilled this moment 1,000 times. Captain Hall stood tall in the yawl. Center. His voice was iron. Target their lead carrier. Fire at will. The Retribution obeyed. Its main cannon lit up, a massive rail system along the spine of the ship. Energy surged through glowing conduits. With a thunderous crack that rattled Jalen's bones, a blue-white lance of plasma tore across the void. It hit the carrier, dead center. The Imperial ship's shields flared white, strained, and then shattered like glass. The beam punched through its armored hull. A split second later, half the carrier blossomed into fire. Thousands of Imperial crew died without a sound. Sira gasped beside Yalin, her claws dug into his sleeve. Stars preserve us. The command deck erupted in cheers. But Yalin couldn't cheer. His stomach twisted. He had seen death before, but never on this scale. This wasn't a battle. It was slaughter. The Empire struck back. 100 frigates unleashed volleys of plasma. Blue fire slammed into the Retribution's shields, making the entire ship shudder. Sparks flew from consoles. Crew shouted damage reports. Shields holding at 72%. Port armor scorched, but intact. Halle didn't flinch. Maintain fire. Launch all squadrons. The hangar bays opened. Dozens of Terran fighters screamed into the void. Small, angular ships armed with railguns and missiles. They tore into the Imperial fighter cloud, ripping it apart with brutal efficiency. For a moment, the battle became chaos. Explosions blossomed across the black sky. The void was filled with fire, wreckage, and the silent flash of dying crews. Jalen, staggered as another blast rocked the ship. He grabbed a railing, gasping. Sira steadied him. "You're pale," she said softly. "Are you all right?" He forced a nod. "I've seen war before, but not like this." She studied him. "And you fear what your people are capable of." Asterisk, he couldn't deny it. Humanity's ingenuity, its hunger, its rage, all focused into these ships. The Empire had enslaved Earth, but in doing so, it had created something far worse. Another officer shouted, "Multiple enemy cruisers breaking formation. They're heading for the planet." Kael'tor. Jalen's chest tightened. Millions of civilians lived down there. Human slaves. Velari bureaucrats. Families. Children. If the cruisers unleashed orbital fire, the city would be ash. He turned to Halle. "You have to stop them." The captain's gaze was cold. "Collateral damage is war. The Empire must learn fear." Jalen's fists clenched. "They're not the Empire. They're innocents." Something flickered in Hale's eyes, but he didn't waver. He barked orders. Instead, defensive wings, intercept. Main fleet, push forward. We break them here. Yalin bit down a curse. He wanted to grab Hall, to shake him, to scream that this wasn't victory. It was madness. But before he could act, Sira spoke. "Captain." "Hala," she said firmly, stepping forward. "If you destroy Kael'tor, you will not win allies. You will breed fear. You will prove the Empire's lies, that humanity is a monster that cannot be trusted." The deck fell silent for a heartbeat. Asterisk Halle turned his sharp eyes on her. "And what are you, alien? A servant to remind us of our weakness." She lifted her chin unafraid. "I am Velari. My people were broken by the Empire. But we remember compassion. We remember mercy. If you wish the galaxy to follow you, you must be more than vengeance. You must be hope." Her words cut like a blade. Even Yalin saw Halle falter, just slightly, his jaw tightening. Then another alarm blared. Enemy reinforcements inbound. 3 more carriers, 2 dreadnoughts. They've called the sector fleet. The view screen lit with new arrivals. Hulking Imperial dreadnoughts, bristling with weapons, dropped from hyperspace. The Empire's true power arrived. The crew tensed. Even Hale's iron mask cracked with concern that the ghost fleet had numbers. But the Empire had experience, infrastructure, logistics. If this dragged on, the Terrans would bleed out. Yalin saw it clearly. He knew that look in the crew's eyes. The same look he'd seen in trenches when a battle was about to turn. Asterisk. He stepped forward. "Captain, let me help." Halle glared. "You're no officer." "No," Yalin snapped. "I'm someone who's lived under the Empire's boot. I know their tactics, their patterns, their pride." They'll come straight for you, for the retribution. They think killing your flagship will end this. Hale studied him in silence. The deck shook again under another barrage. Finally, the captain gave a curt nod. Then stand here. Advise. But know this, one mistake, and I will throw you back to the void. Yowlin swallowed, then nodded. The battle raged on. Terran and Imperial dreadnoughts clashed, their beams carving the void into firestorms. Fighters tore through each other. In swarms. Explosions lit the skies above Kael'Tor like a false sunrise. Jale and leaned over the tactical display, sweat dripping down his temples. His instincts screamed. He saw the pattern. The Imperial dreadnoughts were maneuvering, cutting a path straight for the retribution. They're focusing everything on us, Yowlin said. They'll try to pin us between their carriers. We need to break their line before it closes. Hale glanced at him. How? Jalen's eyes flicked over the display. His old soldier's mind woke up, sharp despite the years of rust. He jabbed. A finger. There. That frigate squadron. It's weak, barely covered. If we punch through there, swing under their formation, we'll hit the dreadnoughts from below, where their shields overlap weakest. It'll throw them off balance. The officers hesitated. Hale studied the map, then barked. Hell, execute his plan. All ships follow our lead, break their line. The retribution roared forward, its engines blazing. Terran ships surged behind. It a spear point of fire. The Empire didn't expect it. The Terrans smashed through the weak frigate line, tearing ships apart with railgun fire. The retribution dove under the carrier formation, its cannons unleashing hell into the underbellies of the Imperial dreadnoughts. Explosions ripped across the fleet. The Empire's line faltered. Cheers erupted on the deck. Even Hale's lips twitched into something like approval. He turned to Yowlin. Not bad, Terran. But Yowlin barely heard him. His eyes were locked on the burning wrecks drifting across space. Thousands of lives, gone in moments. And below, Kael'Tor trembled as debris fell from the skies. He whispered. To himself, voice shaking. Not bad. Or just the beginning of something worse? And then the sensors screamed. Captain! Another signal incoming, massive. Larger than anything in this system. It's not the Empire. The view screen shifted. Out of the void, a colossal ship emerged. Bigger than any dreadnought. Bigger than even the Empire's supercarriers. Its hull was jagged, ancient, scarred. By centuries. Its markings were faint, but unmistakable. Another Terran ship. But unlike the Retribution, this one was darker. Older. Its engines burned red, not blue. Syrah's breath caught. What is that? Captain Hale's face went. Pale. The Exodus, he whispered. We thought it was lost. The massive ship's comms crackled to life, a deep, distorted voice booming across all channels. This is Admiral Graves of the UN's Exodus. Stand down, Hale. Humanity belongs to us now. Asterisk, the choice of chains the Exodus filled the void like a waking god. It dwarfed even the Retribution. Its hull was jagged and scarred, its armor plated with strange alloys that seemed almost alive. Its engines glowed a deep crimson, burning like embers from the pits of hell. Unlike the clean blue energy of the Ghost Fleet, this ship radiated something darker. The comms channel crackled again, distorted but clear. Marcus High, old friend. You've broken the silence. You've drawn the Empire's gaze. And now you'll hand over the fleet. Or I'll tear you apart. The crew of the Retribution froze. Officers exchanged worried glances. Even hardened veterans paled. Captain Hale's jaw tightened. His voice was steel. Admiral Graves, we thought you were dead. A low, humorless laugh echoed from the comms. Dead? No, I've been waiting. Watching. While you clung to old ideals, I forged strength. Humanity cannot survive with mercy. Only fear will keep the galaxy in line. The Exodus will lead, and you, Hale, will kneel. Sera's scales shivered. She whispered to Yalin, This isn't just another ship. It feels wrong. Twisted. Jalin's throat was dry. He could feel it too, like the Exodus radiated malice. Hale's voice cut through the tension. You've betrayed everything we stood for, Graves. We fight. For freedom, not tyranny. Another laugh. Freedom? Tell me, Halai, when the Empire burns your worlds in retaliation, will you still speak of freedom? No, we will rule as they ruled. Humanity will rise, not as saviors, but as masters. The Comes cut. Outside, the Exodus turned its cannons toward them. Admiral Graves' fleet is powering weapons. A sensor officer shouted. Jalen stared in disbelief. He's going to fire on his own people? Hale's expression was grim. Graves isn't our people anymore. He's become something worse. The Exodus unleashed hell. Beams of red plasma carved across space, slamming into the Retribution's shields. The ship shuddered, lights flickering. Alarms wailed. Shields down to 48%. Hull breach on Deck 9. Terran ships scrambled to intercept, but the Exodus tore into them like a predator. 2 cruisers exploded in blinding fire. A carrier split apart, its wreckage scattering across the void. The crew fought desperately, but fear crept into their eyes. This wasn't the Empire. This was worse. This was humanity turned against itself. Yalin gripped the railing, his heart hammering. He had thought the Ghost Fleet meant salvation. But now, it was tearing itself apart before it had even begun. He turned to Hale. You can't fight him head on. He'll rip us to shreds. Hale slammed a fist against the console. I will not yield to a tyrant wearing Earth's flag. Yalin snapped, his voice raw. And if you die here, what then? Graves will rule. He'll become the Empire's shadow. But worse, because he knows our pain, our hate. He'll spread it across the stars. The command deck fell silent. Officers stared. Hale's eyes bored into Jalin's, hard and unyielding. But Sira stepped forward. Her golden eyes blazed. He's right. Both of you are right, in your way. But listen to me. The galaxy already fears the Empire. Fear breeds obedience, yes, but never loyalty. Never trust. If humanity rises as another monster, and you will have only created a new chain for us all. She pointed toward the burning wreckage outside. Is this what you want? To free slaves, only to enslave them again? To tear down the Empire, only to build another in its place? Her words cut deeper than any plasma beam. Yalin felt his chest tighten. He remembered the look in the eyes of the people on Kael'tor, the mixture of terror and hope when they saw the retribution. He remembered children clinging to their mothers, praying for something better. If Graves won, those children would trade one master for another. No, Yalin said, his voice steady. We can't let that happen. Humanity has to be more than vengeance. Hale's jaw flexed. His gaze softened just slightly, enough for Yalin to see the war raging inside him. Finally, Hale nodded once. Then we end Graves, here, now. The Retribution swung around, its cannons charging. The Ghost Fleet rallied behind it, battered but unbroken. The Exodus loomed ahead, engines burning like blood. But Yalin knew brute force wouldn't win. The Exodus was too strong, too heavily armed. They needed something else. He studied the tactical display, searching, thinking. His soldier's instincts and mechanic's mind fused. And then he saw it. There, he said, pointing. The Exodus engines, they're overloading. He's pushing them too hard. If we can hit the conduits feeding the main reactors, it'll cascade. Chain reaction. The ship will tear itself apart. The crew looked at him in disbelief. An engineer, not an officer, calling the shot. Hale studied him, then barked, "Helm, adjust course. Weapons, target the conduits." The Retribution dove through fire, weaving between Imperial stragglers and Graves' fleet. Plasma beams scorched across its shields. The hull groaned, armor cracking. But they pushed forward, straight toward the Exodus. Inside, Yalin gripped the railing so hard his knuckles bled. Sira stood beside him, her eyes unblinking, her voice steady. "You're not just surviving anymore, Yalin. You're leading." He shook his head. "I'm just trying to keep us alive." She smiled faintly. "That's what leaders do." The targeting system's locked. The conduits glowed red on the display, weak points hidden beneath the Exodus armor. "Fire!" Hale roared. The Retribution unleashed its fury. Blue lances of plasma streaked across space, slamming into the Exodus rear. Armor shattered. Energy conduits burst in sparks and flame. The giant ship groaned, its engines flaring too bright. Red? Lightning crackled across its hull. But it didn't fall. Instead, Graves' voice boomed across the comms, twisted with rage. "You think you can break me? I am the future. I am humanity unchained." The Exodus weapons lit up again. Its massive spinal cannon charged, aimed directly at the Retribution. One shot would split them in half. Jalen's stomach dropped. They wouldn't survive. And then silence. Asterisk. The cannon flickered. Its charge faltered. Sparks burst across the Exodus hull. The conduits, strained to breaking, finally gave way. With a roar that shook the void, the Exodus tore itself apart. Fire engulfed its core. A colossal ship split. Down the middle, red flames spilling into space. Pieces of its hull spun off like dying stars. Admiral Graves' final scream echoed through the comms. Cut off in static. The crew of the Retribution erupted in shouts and cheers. Victory. Survival. But Yalin didn't cheer. He stared at the wreckage, his chest heavy. Another human voice, twisted by hate, silenced forever. Hale's voice broke through the noise, quieter than usual. "You did well, Yalin. You saw what I did not." Yalin shook his head. "I saw what Graves was becoming. What we could all become, if we're not careful." Sira placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm against the cold steel around him. "And you chose differently." The void outside burned with wreckage. The Empire's fleet, shattered by both Terran factions, limped away. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had retreated. But in the silence that followed, one truth rang clear in Jalen's heart. The fight wasn't just against the Empire. The fight was for the soul of humanity itself. Dawn of the free, the wreckage of the death. Exodus burned across the void like falling stars. Great hunks of twisted metal drifted in silence, glowing faint red as the fires of its reactor slowly died. The ghost fleet floated amid the wreckage, battered but alive. The Empire's fleet had fled, limping back toward their core sectors with fewer ships than they had arrived with. For the first time in 200 years, the Empire had lost, but victory brought no celebration in Jalen's heart. He stood at the Retribution's viewport, staring at the drifting remains of Graves' ship. The silence pressed down on him, heavier than the roar of battle. Graves had been human. A soldier once, like Hall. Maybe a survivor, like Yalin himself. And yet he had chosen chains over compassion, tyranny over hope. Jalen whispered, "That could have been us." Sira stood beside him, her golden eyes soft with understanding. "No, that could have been you, but it wasn't. You chose differently." Her words sank deep, a weight and a relief all at once. Behind them, The command deck buzzed with quiet urgency. Crews patched hull breaches, recalibrated weapons, and tended to the wounded. The Retribution bore scars from the battle, but it still stood. Proud and unbroken. Captain Hale's voice rang across the deck. "Comes. Open a channel to the planet." The officer obeyed. Moments later, the voice of Kael'tor's governor crackled. Through trembling, deferential, "Captain Hall, the Empire abandoned us. They ordered us to resist you, but our forces are shattered. Our people are afraid. What do you intend for Kael'tor?" The entire deck fell silent. Everyone listened. Hale's voice was deep, deliberate. "You are free." A hush followed. Then a wave of gasps, sobs, cheers broke through the cum line. The governor's voice cracked. "Free? You? You mean no more imperial chains," Hale said. "But hear me. Freedom comes with choice. If you wish to stand with humanity, we will protect you. If you choose otherwise, we will not enslave you. That is our promise." The cum cut. Silence lingered. Jan turned to Hale, surprised. "You mean that?" Hale's eyes were hard, but not cold. "Graves showed me what happens when we let vengeance rule us. You were right. Mercy must temper strength. If humanity is to rise again, it must rise as more than a new empire." Sira let out a slow breath, relief flashing in her eyes. "Then perhaps there is hope for all of us." But hope was fragile. Minutes later, the fleet comms lit up with transmissions from across Kael'tor. Humans in the streets wept openly. Valari singers raised voices in mournful hymns of freedom. Even the conquered species that had served the Empire cautiously looked skyward, daring to imagine a galaxy without. The boot on their necks. The spark had been lit, but sparks could ignite. Wildfires. Hale summoned Yalan to the strategy chamber. The room was smaller, intimate, lit only by the glow of tactical maps. Holograms showed the Empire's borders, stretching across half the galaxy. Even with today's victory, they were still a monster too vast to slay in one blow. Hal stood. Over the table, his silver hair shadowed. "The Empire will not forget this. They will return with everything they have. Our fleet cannot hold forever." Yalan nodded grimly. "Then what's the plan?" Hale looked up at him, sharp. "The people trust you, more than me. They saw you defy both Empire and Graves. They saw you fight not for conquest, but for lives. I need you, Yalan." Yalan froze. "Me? I'm no leader. I'm just a mechanic?" Hall cut him off. "No, you're what humanity needs. Someone broken, scarred, but unwilling to become the monster that scarred him. You remind us what we fight for." Sira stepped forward, her voice steady. "He's right. Yalan, you've already led, not with orders, but with choices. With compassion. The galaxy will follow that, not just guns." Yalan's chest tightened. He thought of the blood on his hands, the screams he still heard in his dreams. He thought of the child he once tried to save during a raid, only to fail. Could someone like him lead? But then he thought of Kael'tor's streets, of the slaves kneeling in awe as the Retribution shielded them, of the Valari songs, of the spark of hope he had seen. Maybe leadership wasn't about perfection. Maybe it was about refusing to give up, even when broken. He met Hale's gaze and nodded slowly. "Then I'll stand, but not as a commander. As a voice. Someone who remembers what it was like to be under the boot." Hale's lips twitched, almost a smile. "That's enough." The alarms interrupted their moment. "Captain, incoming transmission. Empire High Command." The room froze. The hologram shifted. A figure appeared, tall, robed in black and gold, eyes burning with fury. An imperial warlord. His voice dripped venom. "Humans, you dare defy the Empire?" You dare raise your broken flag again? Enjoy your hollow victory, for soon the full weight of the Empire will crush you. We will turn your worlds to ash, your children to slaves. You will beg for chains. Yalin stepped forward before Halle could reply. His voice was steady, loud enough for the whole chamber to hear. No, we will never beg again. The warlord sneered. Who are you to speak to me? Jalin's eyes burned with defiance. I am no commander, no admiral. I am just one of the broken millions you tried to silence. But hear me well. Humanity is back, and the galaxy will never kneel again. The warlord's face twisted in rage before the hologram cut. Silence followed. Then the crew cheered. Not for Halle, not for the fleet, but for Yalin, the scarred mechanic who spoke as if for all of them. Later, as the retribution drifted among the stars, Sira joined Yalin at the viewport. The fires of Kael-Tor glowed faintly below, but above was endless black and endless possibility. You've changed, she said softly. He shook his head. No, I just stopped running. Her hand slipped into his, warm and steady. Then maybe the galaxy has a chance. Yalin stared into the stars, the wreckage of Graves' ship drifting silently past. The war was only beginning. The Empire would come with fury. Worlds would burn. Blood would be spilled. But for the first time in centuries, there was hope that the Empire's worst fear had come true. Humanity was back, and this time they weren't alone. Asterisk.